So, angry white guy here, and today I really want to talk about, go back in my history a little bit, tell you guys a little bit about me. So, I grew up very, very poor, came from very humble and poor family, you know what I'm saying? I was a single mother, uh, had a real father, but they divorced very early on, let's say when we were like 2 years old, born in Minnesota. She moved to Vegas very quickly. So, like in 1968, we were living in Las Vegas. Going, it was on dirt roads. Vegas was all dirt roads back then. Wish I'd bought some real estate back then, or at least my mom. But we were, I think she was a struggling cocktail waitress, and we didn't have money for anything. So I remember a truck rolled over one time on the Interstate 10 up there, and she went and got boxes of these frozen things, whatever they were. They was horrible, and we had to eat those for like 6 months because they were laid out on the street. So that just gives you an idea of where we came up. But one thing I always remember, especially when our mom was an incredible human being. She died last year. And I just remember looking back, and some of the experiences I had. I would always tell her that anything is possible, and I still believe that today. I just remember this one particular conversation. We're inside the van, and we're going to do something as a family, and she goes, she was a strict Catholic, which you guys know. I mean, in this channel we'll talk about religion a little bit. I consider myself a Christian now, but she's a very devoted and strong Catholic, and we grew up that way. And so I said, she goes, "What do you want to be in when you grow up?" And I said, "I don't know, maybe the Pope." And she goes, "That's not possible." And I said, "Mom, anything's possible." And I always believe that today. Here I am. I live on a 50-foot boat out in the Florida Keys. And so I do believe anything's possible. But anyway, about 19, or not 19, in that 2008, 2011 crisis, I remember I had that oh-ha moment. Here I am. I was 48 years old back then. And so, yeah, a decade ago. And I'm laying there. I lost my job. I had a really good job, making a lot of money, $120,000 a year. We had a beautiful house, had it built. We had left Alabama, went back to Las Vegas, got back into the trade show. I thought I was going to start a company back there, but I got back there and I found out that Vegas was saturated with the Mexicans, and they were working at such a cheap wage that I really couldn't compete with it. And so I said, you know what, I'll just jump back into the trade show part of it. And I got a really, really good job, and we bought a beautiful house. And it's my favorite house even today. But I remember, we had the motorhome, the sand car, just everything, a couple cars, the house. She had a fair job. This should have been a big, huge red flag for us. When we got back there, she went back to her original employer, which was our brother-in-law, who was a doctor, and she went back into his office. When she left that office prior, 4 years earlier, 5 years earlier, she's making $25 an hour. When he brought her back, she was making $15 an hour, and he said, "That's all I can pay you." And that should have been a huge red flag for us. We should have known that everything was, that where the economy was and stuff like that. And also, I remember sitting down at the closing of that house. We had it custom built, and I remember sitting down at the closing, and I go, I just can't believe I'm going to spend 400 grand on a $200,000 house. I remember having that conversation vividly inside the thing. And so anyway, a year goes on, my job's going good. Everything's going good. We're living life. Everything is just peaches and cream until one day I lost my job. Well, we had a little bit of money, a little bit of savings, and I could figure something out. But things tumbled out of control very quickly, and we were in a lot of debt, like our motorhome payment, our sand car payment, the house payment. I don't think we did have one car payment at the time. Anyway, and so my wife says, "What are we going to do?" And I says, "Well, you still have your job, and I'll find something, I'll figure something out." But the market was very, very brutal, and I couldn't figure anything out. But what happened very quickly is she lost her job. So now we're sitting here, we're in this house, we're in way over our head. And I remember getting up on this blow up mattress. We had lost everything. By now, everything was repossessed. We had one car between the two of us. And sorry, we had my truck, which was paid for. And then we had her car, which we were making payments on. Everything else was repossessed. All of our furniture, TV, couches, everything was repossessed out of the house. And I remember, going through all of that experience. And I remember laying on that blow up mattress. It was the last day I ever chewed Copenhagen. I chewed Copenhagen, and my ex-wife smoked cigarettes. That was the last day we smoked cigarettes, and the last day I chewed Copenhagen. And the reason was we didn't have any money. So I said, it's a good time. We don't have the money for it. Let's just stop it. And she said, I'm good with that. And we never, ever, from that day forward, we never chewed again and never smoked again. But I remember getting up on that blow-up mattress. I just remember sitting up, and I said to myself, look, this will never, ever, ever happen again in my life. We got up that day. There is absolutely no money in my checking account. There's no money in a savings account. There's no money anywhere. We are dead broke. When I say dead broke, I don't even have $10 to go get gas for the cars, little old eat or anything like that. There's a few groceries in the refrigerator, and so we did eat. But I remember getting up and saying, this is it. I'm done. And I'm not going to get into the full length of the whole story of everything that happened, but the aha moment was laying there on that couch just dead broke, saying, I can never, ever be like this again. And from that day forward, I never looked back. I never looked at it as a negative experience. The house was repossessed. Everything is bad that could happen to a person happened. And so, I was very, very angry at the time, just incredibly pissed off. I felt betrayed by everything, by the system, by everything around me, everything. And I was very bitter, very angry. I look back at it, though, and it was actually all a blessing. So in a very short amount of time, what I did is I called a very good friend of mine, even to this day, and I said, Andy, I need to borrow $2,000. And he didn't even question. He just drove over in 10 minutes. He handed me $2,000. And then I told my wife, I'm going to take this $2,000. I'm going to go down to LA. We're going to start. What we were doing is we were doing these garage sales out of our garage, selling it what we could to raise money that weekend after that. And it became very lucrative. I don't know how, but anyway, I started making some really good money. Long story short is we took that $2,000 and I was able to make that into $20,000 fairly quickly, probably within 6 months. So now we were dead broke. I had a place to live. It was actually an RV. I bought an RV, and then I wanted to live on a boat in the water. And in a very short amount of time, I was able to build our wealth back up. Now we don't have any debt because what we did is we just hired an attorney, and we had to file bankruptcy. We didn't have any choice. So everything pre to that, it all just went into the bankruptcy. So I didn't have any credit card debt. I didn't have any debts or anything. We really weren't in credit card debt. We were just like the house. We were way overextended. It was a $400,000 house worth about $200,000 back then. So we're making, what we thought was a huge mortgage, but even today that would be a small mortgage payment. But it was, when you have no income, any mortgage payment hurt. And then we had a motorhome payment. We did have a car payment. We had probably one credit card or something like that. But we just, it was a horrible, horrible time, but it was also the best times of our lives. And a very short amount of time, we were living on a boat down in LA. And that's where it all really started. And, because I said to myself, I need to change my life. I need to, do something different and live to be happy. But, and then the long story short, I ended up taking a job because in all of that, we were down there in LA living on the boat, and I was running out of money of the money I had saved and made over that year because we paid cash for the boat, so we owned the boat cash outright. And then the money was running out. I said, we're getting down to, it was probably about $10,000. I said, I got to go back to work somewhere. And I was downtown LA, and I started looking for jobs down there. And the market just wasn't there. It was like, my God, this guy wants to pay me $15 an hour. I said, I can't work for that. But then the company that I was working for in Vegas, which was a trade show, they called me back to another facility down in St. George, Utah, and that's where I ended up staying for 10 years. And it's probably where I learned a lot and made most. It's not where I made most; it's where I made my money, and I was able to take the principles that I had learned and be able to save money now instead of just spending money. And so we lived a very frugal lifestyle. We bought an RV. We bought a RV lot, so we had zero payments. We had zero. We sold the boat, paid cash for the RV, and then a couple of years later, we were able to buy the RV lot that we were living on. So then I didn't even have that rent payment to make, and I was able to, the very simple principles of saving 10%, investing, giving to charity, all that stuff. That's all started back then, probably, 8 years ago. It took a few years to get into it and get into the rhythm. But then that was a 10-year run where, I was making 6 figures plus, and it was a big help. And it's where I started from, and I thank God every single day for those opportunities. It was also a time when I got to share with my parents because they happened to be living in the same city. And I was even able to buy a house and share 4 years of my life with them at the end of their life. And it was just an incredible experience, and I don't regret any of it. And it's just my story. So, and I hope it helps you guys. It's kind of a boring video today, but I just want to give you some backside of where I came from and who I am and what's going on today before we jump in further into the channel. And I want to hear your guys' comments too. Broke at 50, that should be maybe that's what I'll name the video. But I was absolutely broke, 50 years old. I don't have a penny to my name. And I had that aha moment, and my life changed. It was literally a life-changing moment. And the biggest thing about it was I just woke up that day and I said, this will never, ever fucking happen again. And it never has. So, and I've never looked back. I don't regret it. If things happen, we all make mistakes in lives. I'm not perfect, and nobody is. But lately, I have changed my life. Me and Beverly have divorced since then. But I keep moving forward and I keep learning, and I'm happier today. I'm not as angry as I was. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Peace out. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe, and I want to hear in the comments you guys what you guys thought about that story. Anyway, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Love, peace, bye.